I watched the most recent Superman movie in theaters a few days ago, and I've been riding that high ever since. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, and I'm not the only one, as it has achieved massive box office success and garnered high praise from critics and moviegoers alike. People on social media, in particular, seem to resonate with James Gunn's take on Superman. Since I stepped out of the theater, or maybe I should say floated out, I haven't been able to stop thinking about Superman and what Superman stands for. I also haven't been able to stop thinking about how far the image of Superman had diverged from his original character. Before 2025 Superman, the last movie dedicated to Superman's character, plot, and upbringing were 2013's Man of Steel, directed by Zack Snyder, and 2016's Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, also directed by Zack Snyder. Needless to say, the internet has been drawing comparisons between the two directors' renditions of the iconic character and plot. A common opinion seems to be that Snyder's version of Superman is inaccurate to the source material. I don't think there's anything wrong with a character like Snyder's Superman, it's just that I don't think it's Superman. What Gunn's Superman does so well is portray the true character of Superman and Clark Kent, as depicted in the source material. One thing I immediately took notice of was how Superman made sure to save every single soul in danger, no matter how inconvenient it may have been. The scene where he went above and beyond to hold up the kaiju so the dog could get away, or the part where he goes out of his way to save a squirrel. I was shocked to find out that Gunn was going to remove the scene of Superman because apparently test audience did not like it. Test audience did not think it made sense for Superman to take time, extra time, valuable time to save a squirrel, because they thought a squirrel's life wasn't worth this sacrifice. I'm glad he ultimately decided to keep it, because I don't think there is a scene more representative of who Superman is than that one. This Superman still went out of his way to save every soul because he believed every soul deserved to live, no matter how big or small. In fact, I was overjoyed at the sheer number of scenes simply dedicated to showing Superman helping people, spending time with children, talking to civilians, and just being an overall cheerful hero. And I like that when he got slammed into the pavement, he didn't try to brush it off. He didn't try to act nonchalant, didn't get right back up and continue fighting. Instead, he lay down and accepted the help when offered to him. This movie makes it clear Superman is not perfect. It also showed that this Superman greatly appreciated every single person he encountered. Every person he met, he held a space for in his heart, and this is further proven by Lois saying the exact same thing to him. Didn't see accepting help from others as something shameful because he didn't see himself as above receiving help from other people. The movie makes sure to show us time and time again that Superman is incredibly human, just like everyone else, that he sees himself as human, not better than them. He quite literally says it. Lex Luthor's character was also really compelling. A man so jealous and insecure that he dedicates his entire life's purpose to destroying Superman. Money, power, and influence are all invested in conquering the idea of Superman and what he stands for. Yet, the authors clearly show us that despite all this effort, Lex never truly understands who Superman is. He doesn't even try to figure out who Superman is, literally and figuratively. In my opinion, Lex made the assumption about Superman that Superman is a cocky extraterrestrial being, simply using his powers to show off and gain fame and notoriety. In reality, that couldn't be further from the truth. When having a conversation with Lex Luthor, Superman corrects this notion that he is just a perfect, impenetrable alien. He makes it clear that he is a human who loves, fears, makes mistakes, gets back up, and makes the right choice, but doesn't always implement them correctly. But Lex doesn't care. He thinks Superman's morals and personality are an act, that Superman has a superiority complex and pretends to be good. Lex cannot comprehend the idea of being so good and kind without a reason, so he automatically assumes Superman must be putting on an act. That's why he derives so much joy from rage-baiting Superman for the entire film, because he feels as though that is the only chance at witnessing Superman's mask fall. While watching the movie, I felt that the conversation shared between Lex and Superman was not just a dialogue between the two characters, but also a direct address to the audience by James Gunn and the writers, who were attempting to reshape the idea fans had of Superman in a post-Snyder world. It felt as though Gunn was telling the audience, we're bringing Superman back, the Superman we know and love. Of course, this movie also received criticisms, mainly from people, and I'm not trying to disrespect anyone's opinion or exaggerate, mainly from people who hate whimsy. The main criticisms I've been seeing are that people are saying the movie is not serious and that Gunn's Superman is not as cool as Snyder's Superman. Honestly, yeah, Gunn's Superman is not as cool as Snyder's Superman. Here's a hot take. Superman is not meant to be cool. Even Superman's actor, David Cornsweet, says this in an interview.
But the problem is they look kind of silly. You were looking for a way to make them look cool, or you were looking for a function, an explanation for having them.
A reason why they would be there, yeah.
And my thing was just maybe they're supposed to look a little silly. Maybe the reason he wears them is to look a little silly, basically to undermine how powerful he really is.
Don't get me wrong, Superman is cool, at least in my opinion he is. Undoubtedly so. Superman has always been cool. He makes it cool to be kind and thoughtful. But cool has never been Superman's defining characteristic. A Snyderhead may prefer a mysterious, brooding, cold Superman, but that is not an accurate representation of Superman. I feel as though Mr. Snyder, he had an image of him that he liked, and he did make that image come to life, indeed, beautifully so, but unfortunately, in the process, he ended up making people think that image is who Superman is and always has been. In reality, Superman has always been a cheerful, bright character. He's always been a shining beacon of hope, who believes in kindness and doing good above anything else. And they show us this in the movie. He literally says he wasn't thinking of any political agenda, he was literally just trying to do good. Prioritizes saving people before stopping to think about himself, who loves everyone and sees good in everyone. Superman is the character who is so easy to love and look up to in trying times because he inspires you to believe in yourself and believe in the world around you. I think somewhere, somehow, at some time in the mid to late 2010s, we became obsessed with the idea of a quote-unquote complex hero. Now, I'm not well versed enough in the superhero genre to know why or who caused this, but what I did notice, and don't like, is that somehow along the way, people started thinking that only a very specific type of hero can be a complex character. The complicated loner archetype was the only type of hero people thought could be complex. I hate this misconception. Characters like Superman can be complex, and Superman himself is incredibly complex. I hate when he is diminished as just a happy-go-lucky golden retriever who doesn't think about anything, and is very simple-minded in his approach to saving people. It's not true. Superman falters, Superman stumbles, he gets slammed into the ground by his opponent. However, he gets back up and chooses to do the right thing. It's a conscious choice he makes. While Superman may have weaknesses and fumbles, what separates him from the rest of us and makes him so great is that, regardless of whether he makes a mistake or not, he makes a deliberate choice to make the right choice. That's what makes him such a great inspiration and role model. We all have something to learn from Superman. Another criticism I saw floating around the interwebs was that this Superman, was weak. Make no mistake, this Superman is definitely not weak. I shouldn't have to say this. In this movie, Clark pulls off insane feats that display his otherworldly strength. I think that's fairly obvious, so why would someone say he's weak? It's honestly quite simple, and like I mentioned before, Superman falls. I saw some people talk about this scene in particular, saying that he was really weak in this scene. I think the problem here is that the people who call Superman weak for expressing vulnerability during a time where he has every reason to break down in tears look at strength through a very rigid patriarchal lens and think that where expressing even the slightest bit of emotion or sadness as a man makes you weak. Just because someone struggles to get back up after repeatedly being pushed down, that doesn't make them weak. Someone whining about how difficult a battle was is not weak. Even after everything Superman faces, he continues to fight, even if it's hard. If that's not true strength, I don't know what is. As a matter of fact, this discourse reminds me of another character who gets hate for the exact same reason. Deku is constantly called weak by people who are unable to rub their last two brain cells together, despite proving time and time again that he is able to accomplish insane feats that would put many other shonen protagonists to shame. Why? Because he cries. I really cannot stand hearing this argument anymore. It is such a lazy opinion with barely any thought put into it. It's so annoying because I know that if these people who call Superman and Deku weak, if they went through even a fragment of the bullshit they claim those characters are weak for crying through, they wouldn't even last a moment. They'd end up crying, screaming, throwing up on the ground. The reason I draw this comparison is because I am all too familiar with this same discourse. I've seen people stir it up a million times on TikTok and X. And you guys, I am tired of this slander towards my goats. Like I said, these people tend to view strength and masculinity through a very rigid lens. And if a character deviates from that mold, even just a little bit, they immediately jump to call them wimpy, even when they've proven themselves to be anything but. And in my opinion, this so-called weakness people are complaining about is really necessary. I think, considering how many people are struggling with mental health related issues nowadays, now is a better time than ever to have this Superman in theater. Superman who goes through a difficult time and chooses to get back up. A Superman who isn't afraid to ask for help. A Superman who openly shows his emotions and tries to understand them. But more than that, I loved how unbelievably kind and good this Superman was. It felt like I was blinded by it. It genuinely had me tearing up. It was really such a breath of fresh air to see such a good superhero. You know what was so tear-jerking about it? The fact that it was so realistic. Clark was so good, and it was touching to think about how this type of kindness can exist in the world if we work on it. I felt enchanted by how the Superman seemingly had a never-ending supply of hope and believed that it was going to be okay. And for those 2 hours I spent in the theater, he convinced me of it too. Why? Because it's up to me to make the world a better place. It's up to me and to you, and we have so much power to try to be Superman. This world is a better place because I believe it is, thanks to this new movie. And the thought that so many people felt the same sentiments, felt as though Superman was motivating them to be kinder, better people, really put a smile on my face. And since the movie's release, I've seen so many people post about how they want to be a better person and do more good in the world because of Superman. And it made me realize how much power and influence there is in seeing our favorite characters behave so nicely. So ultimately, I'm glad that James Gunn, the writers, and everyone else who worked on the movie decided to go with this interpretation of Superman. And I'm glad that this is the Superman that today's generation of children and young boys are raised with. I'm glad that they have such a good role model that they can look up to and try to mimic. In such dark times, I don't think there is anything the world could benefit from more than a little kindness. If you've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching all the way through. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, leave a comment, and subscribe. I love you so much. Have an amazing rest of your day. Bye bye!